discuss about the remaining stuff under the project management, and we will create a small SRS, and we will discuss about software crisis. So these are the main three components that I would like to teach you. We will go one by one. Initially, the rapid application development. This is under project management methodologies. So first of all, I would like to thank you, the students, or the student, I don't know, uh, who has done the Six Sigma work that I have given for you. I have seen it and really appreciated your effort. And I think that's the thing that you should do by self-study. Very nice work you have done here, and really appreciated that work. So next, so actually I'm not going to focus on that Six Sigma. So I think you have understood it, and it's clear for you now. Today I'm going to discuss about RAD, Rapid Application Development. So Rapid Application Development and Prototype, those are like very similar and like nearly equal, but it's not equal. Those are two concepts, but it's like similar. Like there are a lot of similarities in these two concepts. So we will discuss one by one and the core concepts related to this rapid application development and prototyping. Before that, I would like to ask from you if you have any questions related to last week lesson under the software methodologies. You can take a minute and ask me any question that you have any question, then I can clarify. Then we will start this right. Okay, I think you are clear and you have good understanding of this software methodologies. So we will continue the today discussion, rapid application development and prototyping. So rapid application development, uh, a form of agile software development methodology. So I have discussed about agile mechanisms like Kanban, Scrum. So this is another aspect or a view under this agile software development. This agile development is everywhere in different forms. This is actually another form, rapid application development. So rapid application development is used to describe this process of creating workable systems in a very short period. So that's the important point in here. It's a workable system. Actually, this is more towards the systems development. So rapid application development is spread out everywhere, like automation, software automation, automobile, construction. In such cases also, this rapid development is there. Nowadays, if you have experienced in web development or software development or any other component, then if you want to develop a software within very limited period, probably you have used this rapid application development methodology. Now, RAD can include use visual programming and other tools for building GUIs, interactive prototyping of key system elements, the automation of program code generation, close teamwork among end users and information system specialists. We will discuss one by one. This can be a visual programming. What do you mean by visual programming? Is a programming that is with a program, with a code, and there's a GUI component also. In simply, if you have developed a small desktop application using C Sharp, drag and drop, or if it is NetBeans or Eclipse, you have drag and drop. Right? So what you have done is you have developed a small visual program, visual application development you have done. In there, what you have done, you haven't code the entire button. Uh, before before the discussion, let me know you are from information systems, right? ඔයාලා information systems නේද? එතකොට ඔයාලා software develop කරලා තියෙනවද කවදා හරි? එක දවසක් හරි software එකක් develop කරලා තියෙනවද මොනවා හරි? web එකක් හරි desktop එකක් හරි මොනවා හරි එකක් anything? ඔයාලා third years නේද? ඔයාලා මොන හරි application එක develop කරලා තියෙනවද? නැත්නම් මම කියන දේවල් සමහරට තේරෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි ඒකයි. මට චුට්ටක් කවුරු හරි කියනවාද ඔයගලන් third year නේද කියලා සහ application එක develop කරලා තියෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා? Okay, I'll assume that you have developed, right? Yes.
So, develop කරලා තියෙනවා.
develop කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ Java වගේ එකකින්ද නැත්නම් C Sharp ද කොහොමද develop කරලා තියෙන්නේ?
web application PHP
PHP. එතකොට web එකක් තමයි කරලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? ඔයගොල්ලන් අර GUI එකෙන් drag and drop කරලා එහෙම මොකුත් හදලා නැහැ නේද?
නෑ.
Right. Hi, thank you. Now, right. So, if you like to get some experience in this development with the rapid application development, the best solution is installed NetBeans, Eclipse, or C Sharp, any like Visual Studio. Then there's a drag and drop option. You can develop a GUI within 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want to spend the entire day for develop these GUIs. Just drag and drop and develop within like half an hour, 1 hour. You can develop your entire application. But for the PHP, I don't think so. There's a GUI kind of thing, but I'm not sure. There might be. For now, I don't know actually. But I'm pretty sure the other languages like Java and C Sharp, it's in there. And especially like if you have developed any mobile application like Android Studio, if you're using Android Studio, there's drag and drop. GUIs can be developed within like few minutes, very simple. And if you have no experience, I think like jump in and try it. Actually, very interesting. Yeah, you can develop your Android application within like after installation 5 minutes. You can develop.
කරලා තියෙනවා.
කළා තියෙනවා.
ඔව් Java C# Android.
කළා තියෙනවා. හා
ඔව්
එතකොට මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ Java desktop එකක්ද හැදුවේ කොහොමද? Spring Boot ඒ වගේද ගියේ නැත්නම් desktop ද හැදුවේ?
desktop.
desktop එකකද? එතකොට NetBeans ද පාවිච්චි කළේ Eclipse ද පාවිච්චි කළේ?
NetBeans.
NetBeans. ඒක drag and drop ඔයගොල්ලෝ අර දැම්ම නේද ඇදලා?
ඔව්
right හරි. ඒක තමයි මේ කතා කරන්නේ. right. ඒක කළා තියෙනවා නම් it's okay. right. thank you. Right. Now I'm pretty sure now you are very you are familiar with this. If you're not, it's like really hard to explain what is that happening there. Now building graphical user interfaces. Now if you have developed any application like NetBeans, like using NetBeans, what you have done is you just drag a button and drop into the form, and you have started and just text box, you have drag radio buttons, and just within like 5 minutes you have completed your entire graphical user interface. So you haven't used any source code, you haven't touched even the source code, you haven't created button assigns new button and with the set size and the set title or any other thing, you haven't used any method. So what you have done is you just drag and drop and done the work. That's it. That's this visual programming and other tools like building graphical user interfaces. Now that is a rapid application development methodology that you have used, and iterative programming for key system elements. So now what is this iterative prototyping of key system elements? Means once you are developing an application, think it's a large business application for like 1 billion users at the end of the day, like 5 years plan, you have 5 years plan, and you want to develop it for large scale, like globally distributed environment. So what you can do is you can perform an iterative prototyping. Iterative prototyping means the initial prototype would change after the requirements, after the key system elements. I'll give an example. Now you have developed an application with a username and password. It's a prototype. I think it's your desktop application you have developed. It's just a prototype. It can accept a username and a password, and it's checked with the database whether it's equal. Then it allows to redirect to the other page. Now the situation is changed. Now your business requirement is like to add an OTP, one-time password. At that case, you can perform another step, an iterative development. You don't want to delete that username and password. Instead of, you added a component to your current prototype. That is the iterative prototyping. The key system elements. What's the key system element in my example? Is OTP. It's a key system element. Now, once you complete your application, once your application is up and running, that means the prototype contains, the application contains 3 things. First one, username, password, and your OTP. Now, that is the iterative prototyping of key system elements. The automation of program code generation. What is the automation of program code generation means? Like the similar thing that I would like you the same example, but it's not the perfect example, but some example that you have experienced, right? Automation of the code. Now, once you develop a GUI using NetBeans, what you have done is you have just drag and drop. The code automatically generated, isn't it? The code is automatically generated. Once you go to the there's 2 views, the design view and the code view. Once you go to the code view, you may realize it's automatically created in there. That's the automation of the program code generation. But for now, but it's not the perfect example, right? Now there are systems or the mechanisms that you can develop an application by automatically code generation. I'll give the simple example to understand you what is happening here. Like if you have used like application for like web services, like for now it's okay. Like automation of program code generation means the code is generated automatically. Once you start typing, it can creates the code. Or if you have some experience in even in Java or like development, in there the once you click tabs or control shift, you may see automatically codes are generating, right? So that is automated. Like if you want to go to another class, then what you do, dot operation is there, right? Like button be assigns new button, then the b dot, then you call to that method, right? So at that case, the automation, the code is automatically generated. You don't want to type everything in there. That is the automation of program code generation. And close teamwork among the end users and information system specialists. What is this represents means the teamwork and the information system specialist. Now any given domain, there are specialists, what we speak as SPOCs, single point of contacts. Those people are domain experts. They might don't know about the technology, they don't know about any technical situation, but they know well about the story behind the business. It might be different domains. It might be business like insurance, or it might be e-business solution, or it might be a banking solution. I think a person who don't know about even to operate a computer, but they have well experience in domain. They know they have to touch. Those people are the mainly the influencing people for the information system specialists. That means once we developing an information system, we are involved with the data, hardware, software, people, and other aspects also. So at that case, these information system specialists are influencing for what kind of hardware is required, what kind of software is required, what kind of people is required, what is the bridge, the data bridge, how the data transform should be here and there. Uh, so these are the end users and information system specialists. You know, like end users, no need to explain again. End users, information specialists, like these people are the influencing people, the domain experts. Below that, there are people who have some sort of technological understanding, like how to gather the data using technology, like creating a form, or how to insert into the database, how to retrieve the data from the database, how to create the update. Likewise, they know about these information system specialists. So these two kinds of people are the main people under this specialist category. So these people are end users, and the information specialists are the people who want to develop the application. They don't know how to develop the program, or sometimes they know to develop the application, but they want to create a high quality product. Sometimes, like there are situations. At that case, the teamwork means the team that we are working, that means the software development team. The software development team consists of project managers, software developers, quality assurance people, system maintenance engineers. Likewise, these people are there. So we can develop an application to show them this is the application. Now if you have developed an NetBeans application, no one is using at the moment. Sometimes you have developed in your first year, but no one is using at the moment because it's just a prototype. Your information system specialist is your lecturer or your tutor or whoever the person given this assignment, and no end users at the moment, but at that time you are the end user and your lecturer is the end user, and you are the your team, your small team is the team, simply, right? If you have developed for like real business, then the end users would the general public, the normal people, or the specific people that you are targeting, whatever. There are end users and information system specialists. should be there, because we are from the technical background. We have very less knowledge in any domain. So you should adapt to another person who is having domain expertise. Now, this rapid application development is well defined for this integration process. These two people can be joined together and come up with a solution at the end of the day. I think you are very clear about these things now. And what is rapid application development and related stuff. Before moving towards, let me ask a question, but I'm not sure. Like උඹලන්ට මේ ඉංග්‍රීසි වල මොකක් හරි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවද? මම කියන දේවල් තේරෙනවද? මට චුට්ටක් එක කියන්න, මොකද මේ නැත්තම් අපරාධනේ උඹලන්ට. මට සමහරක් දැන් උඹලන්ට සිංහලෙන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට අහුවොත් එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරලා දෙන්න පුළුවනි. ටැමිල් කට්ටිය ඉන්නවනම් මට ටැමිල් බෑ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් අහන්න මම එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න. උඹලන්ට එහෙම තේරෙනවද මම කියන දේවල්, ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කියන දේවල්? චුට්ටක් එක කියලා දෙන්න, මොකද මම අර තව ඉහිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලන් චුට්ටක් කරගන්න අමාරු තත්ත්වයක් කියලා තිබුණා. ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ මම දන්නවා ක්වයිට් කියලා සද්ද නැහැ. ඒවට තේරෙන්නෙත් නැත්තම් වැඩක් නැහැනේ නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට.
එහෙම සිංහලෙන් පැහැදිලි කරනවා නම් හොඳයි. මේ ටික තේරුණා. සමහර තැන් නම් පොඩ්ඩක්
අමාරුයි.
ඔව් තේරෙන්නේ නැති පොඩ්ඩක් තියෙනවා.
තියෙනවා. හරි මෙහෙම කරමු. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මම කියනවනේ. දැන් මම ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කරලා ඉවර වුණාට පස්සේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මොන හරි දෙයක් අපි හිතමු මේ දේ සර් මට අපි හිතමු මේක building GUI කියන එක මට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ඔයගොල්ලන් කවුරු හරි කියනකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කටින් කියන්න අමාරුයි නම්, ඒ කියන්නේ එහෙම ලැජ්ජයි වගේ නම් ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. chat එකේ දාන්න බැරි මට email එක දාන්න. email එක දානකොටම මම කොහොමද ෆෝන් එකට sync කරගෙන තින්නේ. මට ෆෝන් එකට එනවා. එතකොට මට ඒක ආයිසරයක් කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. මට ඒක කියන්න නැත්නම් මම දන්නේ නැහනේ. මම දන්නේ නැතුව දිගටම කතා කරලා වැඩකුත් නැහැ ඔයගලන්ට. ඔයගලන්ට තේරෙන්නේ නැත්තම්. ඉංග්‍රීසි නිසා ගැටලුවක් නම්, ඉංග්‍රීසි නිසා නෙවෙයි නම් මම ආයිසරයක් වුණත් රිපීට් කරන්නම්. ඒක ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඔයගලන්ට ඕන දෙයක් මොනවද තියෙනවා නම් අප හැදින්න, මොකද සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට අන්තිමට දෙයක් තියෙන්නේ නේ. එතකොට ඒ දේ හින්දා මතකතෝ චුට්ටක් මට කියන්න. ඔයගලන්ට මම ඒ උදව්ව කරන්න. සිංහලෙන් ආයෙත් එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න. ඒ මොන හරි නොතේරෙන තැනක් තියෙනවනේ. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ මුළු පාඩම ආයෙත් එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන එක හරි නැහැනේ. මේ ඒකින්ද මට කියන්න ඕන තැනක් මම ඒක පැහැදිලි කරලා දෙන්නම්. හරි. ඒ ගැන කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියාගන්න එපා. Right. We will discuss about prototyping now. Prototyping is most useful when there is some uncertainty about the requirements or design solutions. Now, I'll give a small example. Now, you have been asked to develop a rocket or a brand new car, or like flying car. Now, you don't have any experience in this. You don't know. Your technical team, your project team, no one have no any experience. What you are doing is you just develop something and you show, is this what you require? Is this what you require? It might be a small paperwork, it might be a small product that is developed. We'll get the example of a car, right? Don't think about the flying car, just think another car, a revolutionary car, a novel car, like with a new design. And what you are doing is your requirements, once the requirement is arrived for you, you are like developing a small prototype. It might be a small toy, like a small toy. Think it's a small toy. There are small toy with the cars, right? So if you have go for any exhibitions, like especially like automobile exhibitions, there are new versions are there, and sometimes they are asking about what do you like the human, the end users. There are prototypes. You just like searching, like got lot of automobile companies are doing that. They just present a small prototype and request from the end users what should be the change. Is this shape is good? Oh, is these lights are good? What about the signal lights? It should be like this position or that position. Or what about the shape of this, the front? What about the end, the rear end? How about the rear end? Are you likewise? You can develop small prototype. Think like a small car, a toy car. It's just a toy car. It's just a prototype of the real product. You can develop a product by looking at the same toy. If you want to develop the product, the same toy can use. Now it represents everything in your real product. Now that is based on these uncertain requirements. These uncertain requirements, your requirement is unclear or still not well defined. It that is the uncertainty. Now you are not sure, or it's not clear properly, or it might be like, I'm not sure about this, but it might be kind of this, because like once you develop an application, you can't say I can't understand anything. I can't understand anything. If you lecturer is asking for a product, or if the lecturer is assigned with the user interface and other stuff also, usually very rare, you can't say I don't know anything. But what you are doing is you just develop some like crappy work, some product, and you will show, is this your product that you want? That is this uncertainty about the requirements. You're not sure, you're not clear. At that case, prototyping is the most useful solution, rather than that Kanban boards, scrums. Apart from that, this prototyping is the best possible solution to deal with the uncertain requirements. Now, prototyping is mainly involved when developing an experimental for end user evaluation, the preliminary model working information system. Now, what is the meaning of this? Now, prototype. Now, if you have asked, your client is asking to develop an e-commerce application, you don't want to create a whole new prototype, because there are existing solutions. There are a lot of e-commerce solutions are there. Or if you are developing a social network, you don't want to think about the whole new social network. There are a lot of social networks with similar functionalities. If you have used Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, everywhere you can comment, you can like, you can share that information among these your social net, your peers. Now it's not an experiment. It's very clear your requirement. If someone asks for develop an e-commerce application, you know there should be an add to cart button, and there should be a product removal, there should be a purchase item. These kinds of functionalities are obvious, well defined. You don't want to think about here and there what should be, it should be like change or not. No, it's very clear. But once it comes to an experiment product, like you are developing an application for face recognition, you are allow the end user to log your web application or your ATM system using face recognition system. It's an experimental product. Still it's a problematic. What is this experimental? It's under the research, because still it's not 100% accurate, at least not 99%. It might be like 50 to 70 accurate. Now there are systems like handwriting recognition systems, face recognition systems. Even in Facebook, if you upload a photo, it automatically detects your face, right? Someone, there are a lot of friends are in your image, your photo. The Facebook automatically detects these faces and allow to tag them. But once it comes to a ATM system, it's a whole new shift, paradigm shift. So you should careful, because sometimes people might get really upset. Like Facebook, like tags was like they have introduced like 3 years, 2 to 3 years back, but currently it's like performing like nearly 95 to 98 accurate. Still sometimes not. But if you comment, it's perfect, right? You don't want to think about again. It should be there. If you like, it's perfect. No worries. If you upload a photo, you don't want to think. It's not an experimental at any platform, even like Twitter. It's working perfectly. But there are experimental products. Now, prototyping is mainly involved with this experimental product. If you have experience like products that are experimenting, they want to check whether that is working or not. I'll give a small example apart from this technology. If you go for a small supermarkets, sometimes there are products they are giving free of charge. Food, especially like food products, they are asking, is this tasty or not? Is this good or not? What should be changed? Are you like it? It's an experimental product. They just ask about, they are giving prototypes. They are not giving the actual product. They just develop an application or just develop a small food product and let you know how to check whether for user evaluation. Experimental for user evaluation. Now I'm creating a like a new pizza. I think it's a total like Sri Lankan like jackfruit and Sri Lankan things are there. Now at that case, we should perform a user evaluation. For this user evaluation, it's an experimental work. We don't know whether people are accept or not. It's an experiment. So sometimes you might use experimental products a lot of time. If you get something free or like totally free or nearly free, that means probably it's an experimental version that you are running with that. Now you can understand with the real world scenarios. Check whether what is that happening in there, right? So it's a prototyping involved with the developing experimental products because the requirements are uncertain. I'm not sure the people like I'm creating a jackfruit pizza. I'm not sure whether people are accepting it or not. So the best possible is this experiment can be given for user evaluation. So we can develop a small prototype and let the end users to experience it. And a preliminary, it's initial model for working information system. Now once it comes to information systems, it's a working information systems. Now you have developed a small NetBeans application. It's working. Your functionalities are working, at least like 50% functionalities are working what you promised, isn't it? It's working. It's a working model, though it's not in real world nowadays. It's a working product. You have like your sweat, your blood is there, right? It's a working information system, but it's an initial application, or it's an initial model. That's the important point in this prototyping, because without anything you can't understand what is this person is telling. Now imagine a toy, someone is telling us the whole story about a car. The shape is like, yeah, front is bent like this, the end is bent like this, and seats are like this, the doors are opening to up and down like this. Now you might unable to understand. It might be really hard to understand what kind of car is this person is discussing or describing. So the best solution is, if the other person, the product developers, give a small toy car with a prototype, you might easily understand. It's a working information system. The doors can be opened according to the requirements. The lights can be flashed according to the requirements. It's a working information system. But it's a preliminary model. That means a primary model. That's a very small initial model. But user can evaluate because it's an experimental product, because the requirements are uncertain. this prototype can use to refine the user requirements. That means you can change, you can polish your requirements by handing over this prototype or showing this prototype. It's an iterative process. What is the meaning of this iterative process? Continuously refine and perform the most refined product. Iterative process is continuously refined. You are giving a product, no, this is should be like this, then this is should be like this is should be like this. Sometimes you are, if you have developed your NetBeans application, your first product, your first presentation might be really upset yourself because the lecturers was told, no, this is not an acceptable product. Sometimes students are getting really upset with the first evaluation, so they are giving time to your prototype to refine. Don't get upset at that case. They are giving their requirements. No, this should be like this. No. There are some situations like extreme situations. I'm not sure about that, right? It's okay. There are some lecturers like either you are giving a product with the gold, they are telling no, this should be like platinum, right? This should be like, there are situations like that. I know. Apart from that, I'm speaking about the real world situations. Fair situation, right? Not the real world situation, a fair situation. If a fair situation, like your first product might be like colors might be not good, your design solution might be not good, your database structure might not good. At that case, your lecturer or the person who is giving the comments can give the updates for you or the modification. That means the refine your requirements. And it's an iterative process. Your first presentation, you have refined up to some extent. In the second presentation, you have done another modification, and the third and the fourth, continuously you have refined, and the final product might be like your most fine grained product. In your final product might be most robust, lot of problems are solved, right? And that is the iterative process of the prototype. Now a prototype would be not the perfect at the first glance. If you can develop a prototype at the first shot, that means you're perfect. You have very clear about the requirement. It's not uncertain product. You're very clear about, and you know well about the technology, how the databases should work. Now at this time, you are still learning. You don't know end-to-end products. You don't know the deployment cycles. You don't know how to maintain. You don't know how to escalations are going. So everything at this time, it's a initial model, it's a primary model. Clear? Now I think prototyping is well clear about why we are using and how we can develop a small item or prototyping a small, like the infrastructure knowledge is well after. Now once the design is finalized, then the prototype can be used as a fully functional product. Now think, there are products that we can produce to the environment after well finalized. Your most finalized product can be the best product. There are situations. So it's a most finalized product can be, even if you polish your desktop application, your small desktop application, it might be a small student management system, or it might be a library management system. You just refine it a little bit further and try to install it in at least in your school or your university. You can refine it actually. I know there are administrative issues, like apart from that, if you try to install it, if there's a fair people on top of you, there might be an opportunity to implement your product in real world. But make sure to no issues, in at least, like no issues really hard, at least really like 90%, 99% it's working perfect, then your product is finalized. Then this prototype can be fully functional product. It's a fully functional working application. Now classification of this rapid prototyping or rapid application development, in the first prototyping mechanism or the classification method is throwaway prototyping. A simple example is paper prototypes. Now in here it's a paper prototype for a mobile application. What is this paper prototype? You just draw a sketch. Your screen should be like this. Your button should be like this. You have developed probably. It's like nearly, I'm pretty sure at least you have developed a small prototype. This is a throwaway prototyping. The prototype is discarded once the real product developed. Now this paper product is throwaway. This product is throwaway. You have not used further. Now your product is developed, it's finished. You don't want to keep this prototype further. If you want to keep it for further references, you can keep it, but this is not a working product. It's just a small paperwork. You can throw it away. The advantages are easy to develop, get rapid user feedback, very cost effective. Now very easy to develop. You just get a pen and pencil and just draw these designs and show to your lecturer. Is this a perfect design? Is this a perfect design? Very easy to develop. You don't want any code, you don't want IDE, you don't want databases, you don't want anything at most. You just want a paper and pencil, that's it, or with a pen. And get rapid user feedback. Now you have handed over this sketch to your product manager or your client or your lecturer at the moment. Then your lecturer will tell, what about this color? What is the background color? It's not mentioned in here. Why you have used these kind of things, only 3 or 4 in here? And you can change this button to like full screen. And is this responsive? Is this working with any size? Your lecturer might ask. Get rapid user feedback. You can get the feedbacks. At that time, you can solve the problem. At that time, you get the feedback from the domain expertise. The person who is having experience in mobile application development can give suggestions for you. No, this should be like this. Now, this model is perfect actually. There's no any issue. But think it's like some different layers are there. Then you can get rapid user feedback. Very cost effective. See, you don't want to spend like not more than 10 rupees, like probably not even 10 rupees for the entire solution. You just get a paper, it might be A4, probably it's 2 rupees and just a small pen and a pencil. Very cost effective. But the situation is once you complete this implemented, you just want to remove everything because you don't want to use it. It's a throwaway prototype. You throw it away. You don't want furthermore. The other type I want to present in here is like evolutionary prototyping or breadboard prototyping. If you have used like if you have developed any IoT product, probably you have used a breadboard. What is this breadboard? Is like just there are pins, there are locations to pin your wires and get the output, and you can arrange according to your requirement, fast and easier. Mainly focusing on developing a robust prototype after continuous refining. Now in this case, the throwaway case, we throw it away. We don't want to think about even after the application is developed. But in this case, it's focusing on developing a robust prototype after the continuous refining. Now in this case, you continuously refine and you develop a whole new product. Here the prototype is like continuously refining. You are changing time to time because it might be like another 10 years product. Your software product might be another run in another 10 years. The best quote in here is, we do not understand all the requirements and builds only those that are well understood. Whatever the things you understood, you develop in here. Then you present to your client. Then your client is telling this requirement is not implemented. That means not understood all the requirements. We purposefully done it. We just implemented the well understood one. Then we handed over to the customer and we are getting, or the requirements can be refined. Now this requirement should be like in here. Then you can get another meeting or another data gathering this method, whatever you have learned it now. Any method you can use according to the requirement gathering method. You can gather the requirement and refine again and develop the product. It's like continuous iterative product, because the all requirements, sometimes there might be a huge set of requirements. You can't develop all the requirements, but instead of, you develop a small thing that you have well clear or well understood. Now these are the main two, but there are two another way prototyping methods for web development and stuff, but I don't want to go furthermore, but you can experiment on it, you can learn it. There are more prototyping classifications like apart from these two, but it's a good time to understand for you. Steps in prototyping. Now, what is the steps? First step is identifying users' basic requirements. Now it's very clear. The first step is getting the basic requirements. The system designer, usually the system information specialists, work with the user only along through the capture the user basic information needs. It captures only the basic needs. The second one is develop an initial prototype. The systems designer creates a working prototype quickly using tools for rapidly generating software. There are a lot of mock UIs developing applications are there, so you can use one of them. The third step is use the prototype. The user is encouraged to work with the system to determine how well the prototype meets his or her needs and to make suggestions for improving the prototype. In this case, user is encouraged to work with the system. Now, in here you have initial prototype is developed. The next situation is encourage the user to work with the system and determine how well prototype meets the needs. Now I will give the same example again, that the food testing example. Here the prototype is developed and think that jackfruit like pizza or some another pizza, I don't know, some another product. In that case, like you can give a small prototype meets your requirement. Is this good taste? Or are you happy with that? To make suggestions for improving the prototype. And you can give the suggestions. No, this is like more sticky. I don't like it. This is like too, like I don't like. It's too heavy. It's hard to digest. After eating this, it's like the whole night I haven't slept. I hard to digest it. You can give the comments. And sometimes you may, I don't know whether you have faced for that situation or not. If you get that opportunity, please go there and check what is happening in there. They are gathering the requirements. It's just a prototype. It's a free of charge product. So if you shy to have that free of charge product, today onwards, don't be shy, because it's not a free product. It's 1,000 worth product for the company, because you are giving your feedback free of charge. They just give a small portion and get 1,000 worth comment from you. So that's a worth thing for business, because if you have developed something, then it's there are some people who are using that. We don't want to make our software developed and keep it hidden in somewhere that no one can access. We want to use our software. If not, we can't make any amount. We can't make a profit from our software, right? That is this situation, like how well prototype meets his or her needs to make suggestions for improving. Now you are giving suggestions for improving, because there's a small initial prototype. Now with the small toy car situation, now you have exhibition. In the exhibition, you are keeping these small toys. It's not a small like you are like it's not like your thumb size, but it's like little bit larger, and it has all the functionalities, and you can give some feedback to them. I don't like this. Now some people don't like anything. Like some people, there are extreme situations. I don't like anything, and there are people who like for everything. Even those two kinds are extreme situations. I'm not speaking about those two people. Apart from that, some people can give some intelligent or good understanding. Some people like make it joke, or if you are giving like a free food product, they just eat and leave. Thank you. That's it. It's very tasty. Even it's not tasty. There are situations like that. I have seen this. So you can research these things, especially like situation like supermarket. You don't want to like directly observe, but you can data gather by observing very well. Spend around 15 minutes with your trolley. No one is thinking that you are observing, right? You just can observe what's happening in there. So that is your prototype is initially handed over to the people. Then they give you your responses. Then you refine it. After the refining, you don't want to get you will never get it free of charge. There's a high cost. There's a high cost. Even for softwares, there are free softwares for evaluation. It's just a prototype. It's not the real product. It's just a product. It's just a prototype. They just want to get the user feedback about the software crashes. How frequently the software crashes, in which operating system this is not working. There are situations like free softwares are there. They just want to give the free product, not for free, but for the information gathering. It's just a prototype. To improve the product, their real product can be improved. The fourth step, revise and enhance the prototype. The system builder notes the changes the user requests and refine the prototype accordingly. After the prototype has been revised, cycle return step 3 and 4 repeat until the user satisfied. Now here the initial product is developed in here, then user is engaging, changing, changing, changing. My time it's changings are there. When no more iterations are required, the approved prototype then becomes an operational prototype and furnishes the final specifications for the application. This is like iterative process. This iterative process is finished, then your product is fully functional, fully working and users are accepting. That is the story about the steps of the prototyping. Now again a small diagram of this situation. It's exactly same situation I have discussed about the steps. Step 1, identify the basic requirements. Step 2, develop a working prototype. Step 3 is use the prototype. Then user is satisfied, then yes. If no, then the revise. Then it use the prototype, user satisfied, no, again and again and again until the final product is satisfied. There is a situation user satisfied, then you can say yes. The usual flow is like there are few cycles in here. After the few cycles, it moves to here. Then it's finished. It's just a small flow chart. මේ flow chart එක හිතන තේරෙන්නේ නැති කියලා මේ flow chart එකේදී කරන්නේ මේ basic requirements අරගන්න තැන මෙතන තියෙන. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි පළවෙනි step එකේදී අපි කරන්නේ basic requirements ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකෙන් අපි prototype එකක් හදනවා. පොඩි prototype එකක්. මේ හදන prototype එක තමයි අපි use කරන්න ගන්නෙ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි හිතමු එක user දුන්නාට පස්සේ මෙතනදී අපි user දෙනවා. user දුන්නාට පස්සේ user සතුටුුනේ නැත්තම් අපි කියනවා ආයිසරයක් මේකේ modification එකක් කරන්න තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ modification එක කරලා ඉවරලා ආයිසරයක් අපි මෙතෙන්ට ගන්නවා. අරගෙන ඉවර වෙලා ආයිසරයක් එයාට දෙනවා user දෙනවා. user satisfy නම් අපි මෙතනින් පල්ලෙහාට අරගෙන ආයි enhance කරනවා. satisfy නැත්තම්. මොම satisfy නැති වෙන අවස්ථා ටික ඉවර වුණාට පස්සේ යම් කිසි අවස්ථාවක satisfy වෙනවානේ. satisfy වුණාට පස්සේ අපි මෙතෙන්ට ගන්නවා operational prototype එකක් විදියට. This is the flow of a prototype. Then strengths and weaknesses of prototyping. Again, we will do as a small in-class activity. I will give 5 minutes for you. I have shared the link with you, so you can start discussing about this as a group and type few things like strengths. Now there are like 5 students in this class. 2 of them can type on strengths and 2 of them can type on weaknesses. I will give 5 minutes for you. And 6 minutes, 1 minute for discussion, and 5 minutes for typing, 2 minutes for understanding, and 3 minutes for understanding, 2 minutes for typing. I don't want to like very large situation, just what you have learned, and you can search it. Simply you can search it and you can type something. ඔයගලන්ට මේක මේ ડોකියුමන්ට් එකේ බලන්න මම ડોකියුමන්ට් එක ෂෙයා කරලා තියෙනවා. strengths උයි weaknesses උයි දාන්න තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට දෙන්නෙකුට වගේ පුළුවන් strengths කතා කරන්න. මම කැමති විදියක් ඔයගලන් කතා කරලා මම විනාඩි 5ක් වගේ දෙන්න. දැන් 9:33 9:33යි වෙලාව. I'll give like 9:40 we will start the next one, and before that I'm joining with you for the in the document, and we will see updates. And really thanks for the last week student, right? Again, I'm thanking for the student that or students, I'm not sure, who enrolled for that self-study activity. And this is also a small self-study. Shall we start? Meanwhile, if you have any questions, Tamil කට්ටිය ඉන්නවද? Is there any Tamils? Tamil ළමයි ඉන්නවද පන්තියේ? Let me see. The names seems no, right? නම් වලින් නම් නෑ වගේ. ඔක්කොම සිංහල කට්ටිය කියලා මම හිතනවා. Tamil කට්ටිය චුට්ටක් ඉන්නවා නම් මට කියන්න. එතකොට මට ඔයාලට වෙනම explain කරන්න පුළුවන්. අනික කට්ටිය ඕන කෙනෙකුට සිංහලෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන්. කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. මොකද සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. ලැන්ග්වේජ් එක බැරි එකක් කරගන්න එපා. එඩියුකේෂන් එකට ලැන්ග්වේජ් එක බැරි එකක් කරගන්න එපා. ඒක මේ ඒසියන්ස් ලාගේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි ඒක. අපිට ඒක ආකියු කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි උඹලන්ට මොනවද ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක තේරුම් ගන්න ලැන්ග්වේජ් එක බැරි එකක් කරගන්න එපා. ඕනෙලාක සිංහලෙන් අහන්න මම කියලා දෙන්නම්. නැත්තම් උඹලන්ට ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් ඕන නම් ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කියලා දෙන්නම්. ඒකේ මට ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. Right? I'll give around like few minutes. Appreciated for working. I can see you are working. really appreciate your work. Let me discuss a little bit about this. Do I need to share my screen? Hope it's good, right? Yes. Now, under the strengths, can evaluate multiple design concepts, low cost, can get suggestions from others, early detection of errors, flexible, easy to detect errors. Here, early detect, same, right? And missing functionalities easily, yes. Ideal for online system. Now, for online system, like a well established online system, ඒ කියන්නේ හොඳට ස්ථාපිත වෙච්ච එකක, well established online system like e-commerce application, at that case it's acceptable. It can actively involve users in the development phase, yes. And weaknesses, developer might misunderstood the user objective, yes. Now in this case, to avoid this weakness, what we can do is we can incremental develop or iterative development can be implemented. System will be difficult and expensive to maintain due to system change made. Now, this weakness arrives when if you develop an application totally or the whole application is developed. So the prototype would not mainly focusing on this expensive processes. Now, insufficient analysis, there might be prototypes with insufficient analysis, not appropriate for all types of products. Yes, it's not applicable for all types of products because some products are well established. At that case, we don't want to go for another prototype. This model is costly. Actually, this is not a cost product. So this is not a costly situation. There may be too much variation in the requirements, yes. Now මම ආචාර්යයක් කියලා දෙන්නම්. Too much variations තියෙන නිසා තමයි අපි මේ prototype එකට යන්නේ. එතකොට ඒක prototype කියන එකේ තියෙන disadvantage එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. It can adapt to these too much variations. එතකොට ඒක strength එකක් විදිහට අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්. This is certainly in determining the number of iterations, yes. There may be incomplete or inadequate problem analysis, yes. There might be incomplete or incomplete now. There may be increase the complexity of the system. Now, it might be not the perfect thing because we are mainly focusing on prototyping. We are not mainly focusing on the system. Clear? At that case, the system complexity is not a problem at all for the prototyping. I think you are clear about the strengths and weaknesses now, so you can write your own in your own words. And thank you for this Tiger and yes, these people. Thank you. You are anonymously supporting me. I really appreciated your work. Nevertheless, really appreciated. Though it might be not the perfect, but it's a good attempt that you have done. I really appreciated your work as a group And it's like a group work. A university student should be able to work as a group, because once you go for the live business environment, you are not an isolated person, so you are working as a team. So you should join as a team, and it's a good attempt that you have done as a group to comment on these strengths and weaknesses on prototyping. And thank you very much for this work. I'll stop my sharing and I'll go back to the screen. And another thing I just want to show you, actually, let me share the screen and let you know. දැන් මෙන්න මෙතන වගේ මේගොල්ලන්ට මෙතන යට බැලුවොත් එහෙම මේ සමහරක් ඒවායි මම දාලා තියෙනවා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට additional references in your presentation. In here under the notes I have mentioned some sort of references for you. So if you can go towards, if you can learn a little bit more by referring these things, there are a lot of references. If you just search rapid software prototype classification, you can get lot of references, lot of articles are there, so you can learn from anything. I'm not restricting from this, but these are some sort of references that I have searched and understood it's good for you, so I have inserted for you. And it's your responsibility to go through these documents and understand a little bit further, because these lectures are like under the surface, it's not deep dive topic. So it's your responsibility to spend like around 2 to 3 hours for a subject, additional resources, understand about the additional resources and learn a bit more, and you can dive more deep. ඔයාලට පැහැදිලි ඇති මම මේ දාලා තියෙනවා references, additional references මෙතන යට. මේ සෑම ස්ලයිඩ් එකම සමහර ස්ලයිඩ් වල නැහැ, ගොඩක් ස්ලයිඩ් වල දාලා ඇති මෙතන යට. ඊයේ සතියේ ඒවයිත් සමහරක් ටික ඇති, අක්ෂුව නැහැ. බලන්නම සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකේ අර සමහර දේවල් ඩීප් කරුණු තියෙනවා නම් ඒවා දානවා ඔයගලන්ට රිෆර් කරගන්න නෝට්ස් වල දාන්නේ. වෙනම references කියලා ස්ලයිඩ් එකක් දාන්නේ නැහැ, මොකද එතකොට අර ඒක කරදරයි ඔයගලන් එහෙම කියවන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි මම මේ ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ නෝට් එක ඇතුළට දැම්මේ ඒකයි ඔයගලන්ට ඒතකොට චුට්ටක් ඒක තව චුට්ටක් බලලා ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕන නම් මේ චුට්ටක් ඉගෙන ගන්න URL දාලා තියෙන ගොඩාක් ඒවා කියන්නේ ගන්න ඔක්කොම වගේ ඒවා ෆ්‍රී ඒවා තමයි තියෙන්නේ. paid articles එහෙම ගොඩක් ගන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් personally මට mail එකක් දාන්න. paid articles මම ගාව තියෙනවා නම් මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට එක share කරන්න. එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ මට. සහ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ digital library එකක් ඇති සමහර පිටක. ඒක චුට්ටක් ඒකේ චුට්ටක් බලන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලම සමහර ගොඩක් දේවල් ඒකේ ඇති. නැත්තම් මේ දවස්වල ෆිසිකල් යන්න බෑනේ. ඒකෙන් digital library එකේ බලන්න ඒ documents ඇති. හරි. නැත්තම් මට චුට්ටක් කියන්න මම ගොඩක් දුරට මට තියෙනවා ඒ මට එතකොට ඔයාලට හොයලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, now we will discuss about the strengths and weaknesses of the prototyping. Now we will discuss about software requirement specifications. specification or SRS, software requirements specification. What is SRS? A formal document of the product to be developed. Now, first of all, before a software requirement specification, let me introduce to a specification. Specification is a precise statement of needs to be. A precise statement of the needs to be satisfied and the essential characteristics that are required. Specification is a precise statement. That means a statement, a well-cleared statement. You know what's a statement, right? It's just a few sentences or with the conditional sentences of the needs to be satisfied and the essential characteristics that are required. What's a specification? A precise statement of needs to be satisfied. So this specification is mainly focusing on satisfied and essential characteristics on a statement. එතකොට මොකක් හරි statement එක clear තියෙනවා නම් මේ statement එකේ දී අපි දක්වනවා මොනවද මේකෙදි මේ වාක්‍යෙදි සිද්ධ වෙන්න ඕනේ සහ ප්‍රධාන කරුණු දේවල් කරුණු කාරණා මොනවද කියලා. Essential characteristics. එතකොට software requirement specification කියන්නේ software එකේ requirements සම්බන්ධයෙන් තියෙන specification එක නැත්නම් spec එක නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ software requirements වලදී තියෙන කරුණු මොනවද කියලා තමයි මේකේ තියෙන්නේ. Now this is like SRS, software requirement specification, a formal document of product to be developed. Now this is a formal document. This formal document contains set of statements which represents the software product. It might be a small desktop application or it might be a huge e-commerce application, whatever. Regardless of the size, this document contains all the statements or all the requirements that should be state or that should be represent your software. This is a formal documentation among the software development company and the client company that represents about the software. Now this is a formal documentation. This describes the formal documentation because we can gather the data as an informal way. We can have an interview and gather the data informal way, and we can discuss and we can have different discussions. At the end of the day, we should have a formal document about the software that we are going to develop, regarding the software, regarding the functionalities in the software, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, security requirements, usability, metrics, everything should be a formal documentation because it's a software development company and the client company. It's a legal document because there's an agreement, there's a contract, because client pays for us. Our responsibility is to develop the software for this client. So there should be a contract because the software development company would provide very high effort for develop this software, and it's a cost. There's a cost for this, and client is willing to have the highly sophisticated software because he is spending money. So it's like a bidirectional contract. Both parties need something. There are situations can be happen where the client company would not pay, or the other way, the software development company would not deliver the product to the client as expected. Both situations can happen. To avoid any miscommunications, to avoid any misunderstandings, there should be a formal document. This formal document is known as this SRS, or Software Requirements Specification. Mainly focus on functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Now, this document should represent all the requirements that is in the software. It's mainly focusing on functional and non-functional requirements. What are the characteristics of an SRS? Clear and correct. Defines the scope and features clearly and correctly. No ambiguity at all. Now, you should define the scope and the features very clearly. I will give a small example. The system should accept the password. The next statement is the password should contain minimum 8 characters and maximum 40 characters. So that's the requirement. There are two statements. First statement is accepting password, and the second statement is nature of the password. It's telling this password should be like minimum 8 characters and maximum it should be 40 characters. It's a clear document, clear statement. If you are just mentioned the system should accept password, if it is in the SRS and your client is agreed for this statement, you are the development company, you are providing the SRS to the client. Some companies, there are some third-party companies, legal companies are involved for this SRS, like huge companies, but I'm just speaking about general small companies, agreements in between the client and the software development. At that case, if you have developed, your development company is develop an application or developing or planning to develop an application, at that case you have mentioned the system should accept passwords and your client is agreed. And after some time, if your client is telling why this system is accepting only password, only one character, then you can, your development team can tell, we have clearly mentioned it's just the password. You haven't given a clear requirement. It should be minimum this much. It should be that maximum that much. So at that case, we don't know what's your requirement. That's why we have delivered a SRS. So it's your responsibility to understand it well. If you want to do this another modification, yes, we can do it for you, but you have to pay for that because there's an additional effort, right? That's why we want to have a clear and correct. If there's any ambiguity, if there's something not clear at the moment, the best solution is you can directly contact your client. It might be a single decision or it might be a group decision by the client company. It might be your concern might be goes up to the director's level, or sometimes it might be the CEO's problem. We don't care about that. It's not a problem for us. That's the client company's responsibility to provide the most refined requirement. But as a technical people, once you develop applications, you might see some missing components by the software developers, by the software client. At that case, we can suggest our client, why don't now our client is just mentioned about we want a password. Then as a development company, you can suggest, do you need minimum number of characters. There's a maximum number of characters, or it should be parser should be accept as asterisks or dots. Now you know there are some asterisks and dots are there accepting for passwords, and then you can suggest your client. At that time, sometimes your client might say yes and appreciate you well, and you can make your customer happy, and keep the contract well for a long time. Those are not bad things, those are good things. We are not planning to make some sort of bad thing and earn money. We are not planning for that, but we are suggesting our clients because they don't know. Sometimes they don't have experience, but we have experience because we are from around last decade. I'm from software background, so I have well experience in these things. I can suggest my client, why don't you go for this? At that time, sometimes client might. At that time, you can add it to your SRS. It's an additional point for you. And whatever the requirement, there should be no ambiguity at all. Contractual performs all the statements as contracts with the responsibilities. Now, it's a contract, it's a legal document. It's a contract in between two parties. So you should have to write all the statements, contracts as the contracts with the responsibility. It's your responsibility. As a client, I would pay this much. As the development company, we will develop the software on 20th of May 2020. And we will keep a grace period or some time period for you to test our application. And we develop the initial product on 20th of July. Likewise, you can tell as a development company, we are telling like this. As a client company, I am agree to pay this much on this after completing 10%. As a client, I would like to have user acceptance test on this day, and I just want 8 hours to test it. It's a contract. Apart from the client and the contract, you can specify sometimes the job roles, not the names, job roles, because everyone plays a job role, not a job, not a person. So the software developer would do this thing, and tester would do this thing, and project manager's responsibility is to perform this thing and that thing. Likewise, you can have very extensive document. Ability to use as a black box specification. Now, you know what's a black box testing. The same thing, it's a black box specification. Now, you don't know about anything in the code. You don't know about what's happening in the code, but just as a user interface level or just without the code, whatever the things you can do, it should be represented in your SRS. In SRS, there's no code at all. You don't write any code. There are technical documents. I have discussed it also, like release notes, and there are code repositories which is stored the coding things, and there are comments to understand what is the code. But this is apart from that. This is just a black box specification. The system should provide a button to go to home page. At that time, the black box tester can use this specification as a testing tool and test whether the requirement is representing in the system. It's a black box specification. And advantages of having a proper SRS. System is well defined. Scope is clear, very clear, because we know what is the requirement. And Reduce the development cost. Clear requirements are the foremost factor for success project. If the requirement is unclear, if the requirement is not well defined, the development cost might be high because time to time the requirements is changing. Once you have clear requirements, then there's no any worries. You just jump into the product. Clear agreement between the development company and the client company. It's a clear agreement. It's a clear agreement between the development company and the client company. This is a huge advantage of having a proper SRS because it represents the legal contract in between the development company and the client company. Prior starting further steps, SRS provides a clear contract in between two parties. So it's a clear contract. What are the responsibilities and duties of the client and what are the responsibilities and requirements of the development company? When we are paying and when we are delivering the product. What is the accepted quality? What is the accepted payment? How much you are willing to pay for the testing and how much testers we are using. It's a legal agreement. And it provides the stability of the product. And it's clear. The client should pay this much of the amount at the end of this product. Then the client can plan their profit after implementing they are investing, right? Client companies, why client companies develop a software? Because they want to increase the profit. By developing a software, they increase their profit by sometimes 200 times or 150 times in long term. They might earn a lot. Now they can plan. Now we are investing 100,000 for this product. Think it's 100,000 product. And what is our ROI? When we earn, when we starting our earning, when is our return on investment? They can plan the product. Then they can tell, no, this should be like 50,000. At the 50,000, you should deliver these major components. Then they can start earning. Then sometimes the rest of 50 is providing after the implementing by using the software. The same software produce the money. There are situations like that. Prior starting further steps, SRS provides clear contract because it's just a document. You can stop at that time if the agreement is not agreed by the both parties. You haven't called, you haven't test, nothing in there. It's just some sort of text. Project management is easy. Now this is another advantage of having proper SRS. Since the requirements are clear, the project management can create well-planned budget, cost estimation, resource planning, etc. Because this SRS contains everything. How much we are going to plan, how the delivery is performing, everything is in there because the requirement is clear. Because the requirement is clear. What is the scope? What is the function? What is the non-function? How much effort we are allocating? Project manager can think about that easily. Project managers can easily interpret this, easily explain to the client this much of effort for this functional requirement, this much of effort for this non-functional. So we can deliver on or before like this date, or it might be cost this much of amount. Likewise, we can, like project managers can easily state it. Ability to easily create other documents like user manuals, testing documents, like a lot of documents are there involving. So these documents can be easily created because sometimes you have learned about testing types based on the requirements. Sometimes you have heard about test driven development. There are novel methodologies involving usability metrics, test vectors, different kind of things are there. If the SRS is well, then others can develop very easily because the user manual can be started at that time without even starting the coding. Parallelly, the user manual can develop by the technical writer. Test documents can start once the SRS is agreed because we know what we are going to develop. There are a lot of advantages of having this proper SRS. I think now you are clear about these advantages. What are the steps that involving for this SRS? Requirements gathering. Initially, we have discussed about requirement gathering and what are the techniques and how to perform a clarification on these requirements gathering, like interviews, observations and stuff. I have discussed it previously. And requirements analysis, identification of functional and non-functional requirements. I have discussed about this also, how to perform this requirement analysis. So the last part of this flow is requirement specification, creating the formal documentation of the requirements. So this is a flow, this is a proper flow. You should learn about these requirements gathered. If the requirements is gathered incorrectly, then definitely your specification is incorrect. So the first and foremost thing is proper requirements gathering. Then you should divide into functional and non-functional requirements properly. Then only you can start your formal documentation. දැන් SRS එකක් හදනකොට මේ steps තුන හරිම වැදගත්. පළවෙනි step එක තමයි requirements gather කරන එක. Requirements gather කරනවා කියන්නේ අපි කොහොමද user ගෙන් end user ගෙන් requirements අරගන්නේ. එතකොට මේක තමයි වැදගත්ම part එක. මේක මම කතා කළා අර interview ඒ වගේ දේවල් වලදී observations වගේ දේවල් වලින් අපිට පුළුවන් මේ requirements gather කරගන්න. ඊළඟට requirements analyze කරන්න කොහොමද කියලා. එතකොට මම ඒකත් කතා කළා functional requirements සහ non functional requirements. මොකද මෙතෙන්දී අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට හම්බ වෙන්නේ clear document එකක් නෙවෙයි. මේක හරි කියන්නේ blurred document එකක්. සමහරවිට paragraphs කීපයක් හම්බ වෙන්නේ. සමහරක් වෙලාවට පොඩි sketch එකක් හම්බ වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් clear නැහැ. එතකොට මෙතෙන්දී අපිට මේ functional requirements සහ non functional requirements කොටස් වලට කඩා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒක කරන විදිහත් මම කියලා දුන්නා ඔයගලන්ට කොහොමද functional requirements සහ non functional requirements වලට කඩා ගන්න කියලා අපි in class activity එකත් කළා. එතකොට අන්තිම part එක මේකේ functional non functional වලට කඩාගත්තට පස්සේ මේක අපිට පුළුවන් formal document එකක් කරගන්න. එතකොට මේක තමයි මේ requirement specification එකේදී වෙන්නේ. I think now you are clear about these steps and the flow well in how to create this SRS. The important points in here is this document might refer by non-technical people. So this is just a document in between two business parties, the client business party and the software development business party. So it might be read by a person who don't know even a programming language. What is a programming language? As an example, that person hasn't heard what is Java or C# or Python or PHP or anything. Even that word, that person don't know. There might be a person. So if you are like try to interpret your work using the technical jargon means the technical terms, then it might be a problem for the other person, especially like SPOCs, single points of context, or the subject matter experts, SMEs. These people might be domain experts. They don't know anything about the technical stories. and they don't care about the technical story. So your document should reflect well about the functionalities without technical jargon. This is very hard because you are trying to interpret in your own words. You are trying to write in your own words. You are from technical background, so what you are doing? So you are writing using technical jargon. Especially like some companies hiring separate technical writer who is having like good English knowledge than the technical understanding. Then the technical people would tell the story, then he would understand and write in the technical document. There are technical writers. There are positions available rare, not rare, but there are positions available for the technical writers. So what is the key point that you should memorize is this document would read by a person who don't know anything about technology. So you should very careful once you write in this document. This document is presenting two organizations. Now this document is in between client party and the development party. So these two organizations are representing, or the merge or the bridge in between these two companies is this document. So it's not you. It's not you. I agreed. No, the ABC company would agree with XYZ company. Or initially you have to define. We means hereinafter. We means the development company. We means the software project management team. Likewise, you have to initially define what is this INV. If not, use the organizational terms. Organization. ABC company would agree with the XYZ company. Likewise, you have to use organizational terms. Instead of the project manager's name, the project manager is responsible to deliver on 20th of June. The next point is function belongs to a description of a system. That means not for a human. System will perform. Now some documents, even business documents I have seen, they are like describing the functions like they are doing. I would be able to accept username and password. There are documents I have seen. System would accept the username and password. System should allow to have username and password. System should allow to perform this thing and that thing. System background is like this. The home page screen background should be in white color and text in red color. H1 headers goes to these places. Likewise, you have to mention about the functions in the perspective of a system, not the perspective of a human or a working model. Now there are different standards available for this SRS documenting. IEEE 830 stand is like a current stand, but there are a lot of deviations and company specified stand SRS documents are there. So I can't state there is a single SRS document would be used by all around the world. But is IEEE 830 standard is like a benchmark. It's like a small initial point or the root of this product, this SRS document. There are some totally deviated documents are there, and currently some companies would use some another tools like Jira and stuff because they are using agile methodologies. At that case, sometimes some companies are not using, sometimes not rare, sometimes not using directly. They don't use a SRS. Instead of they use user stories and that the flow. There's no a single document called SRS for their companies. There are situations in currently. They don't have a proper SRS. Instead, they just focus on a single component which is running in this week or these 2 weeks. Then the project manager or some another person would keep the record what is happening these 2 weeks. That's it. Now, if you go for a company, sometimes if you search for SRS, there might be not. So you don't want to afraid about that. But there's a location that represents all the changes happening in your system. That's why I want to clearly mention here, because recently I have tried to grab, I have a one, but I can't show you because it's like digital environment and recording is there. It's a business property, so I can't show it where I have worked previously, but I can't show it now. But if you search it in Google, there are a lot of SRS documents. You can download it. It's a different case. Somehow there, now I want to mention in here, there might be a situation that no SRS at all. Don't worry, there might be a user story or something, because I have tried to grab few, but majority of them was responded, we are not using a proper SRS at the moment. Somehow, I just want to give you an overview of this SRS documenting with the IEEE 830 standard. This recommended practice is aimed at specifying requirements of software to be developed, but also can be applied to assist in the section of in-house and commercial software products. Now this is like a recommended practice. So the recommended way to walk is like in right hand side, but sometimes you don't walk in right hand side. That's not a practice. The recommended practice is not applicable for everywhere. There are situations, right? But if you follow this recommended practice, that means you are in safe side always. So I'm highly motivating you to move with these recommended practices for your journey in academia or your journey in industry. Then you are survived. Is aimed at this practice is aimed at the specifying requirements of software to be developed, but also can be applied to assist in the section of in-house and commercial software products. Now this is like applied for assist in the section of. Now this is applied for in-house and commercial software products. That means in-house software development is your company is developing products for you. There are companies who develop the products for you. You have a company, your company is developing a software for your company. Think like an insurance company. You are developing software products for yourself, your company. But there are some situations like outsourced companies. Outsourced companies means you are doing the business and you are getting help from some another outsourced software development company to develop the software. in both strategies, in-house or outsource, there are advantages and disadvantages both. But as per my perspective, the best solution is for a business is outsource the software product. Why I'm stating like that? A software development product, software development company would have good experience on software development. Then they know about the software in and out, especially like security, maintainability. If you are developing in-house, there might be a developer or two, and there might be another tester who developed a product. They develop a software product according to their knowledge. But for a given software company, there is a structure, there's a flow, there's a proper process to develop the product. So there might be additional advantages and additional security, especially additional efficiency than developing an in-house product. But there are situations like your data should be in your company, or you should not expose your business processes to environment. There are companies, at that case, you should go for in-house regardless of the other components like security and maintainability. Now, this is like a document. This is the standard way for the recommended practice, and the purpose is to achieve harmonization of the content definition of software lifecycle process, resulting among IEEE software engineering standards and with the related international standards. So this is the purpose of their IEEE standards. So these two are grabbed from directly from the IEEE site. I have mentioned in the link in the description, so you can in the note, so you can search it furthermore. And now it's time for creating SRS. What do prefer? Do you like to have a break and start the SRS, or will complete this SRS and have a break? මොකක්ද ඔයගොල්ලන් කැමති? SRS එක හදලා break එකක් ගන්නවද? break එකක් අරගෙන SRS එක හදන්න එනවද? කොහොමද වැඩියෙන් කැමති?
break එකක් අරගෙන
හරි.
ඊට
හරි. එහෙනම් මේ ඔයගොල්ලන් දැන් කීයද වෙලාව 10:30 right 10:40 වලට එන්න අපි SRS එක හදමු. right questions තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න මම ඉන්නවා දැන් මෙතන ඔයගොල්ලන්ත් එක්ක. ඔයාලට මොනවාරි question එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන් 10 minutes වලින් ආයෙත් ඉන්න අපි SRS එක හදමු. I hope you are back now. I have shared the SRS in chat. Can you please download it? Now we will discuss how to create this format document. So this is just a template, so you can add, remove or modify or do certain changes according to your requirement. It's okay, but just I'm giving some sort of basic understanding about of how to create a small SRS. So this is the standard template that I have shared with you. We will see how to complete this for specification. Under this specification, you can see software requirement specification 4. In here, you have to mention the project. You have to do what is the project that you are going to develop. What is the project that you are going to develop is, we'll get an example of or like for hotel system, for hotel management system. This is the project that we are going to develop. Now, what is the next point? Version approved. Now think, this is your initial product. This is your initial document. It's the version 1. Now, if your product is growing, your product is enhancing day by day, then you have to use the appropriate version. Sometimes the last version is 2.0, then you can use 3.0. Likewise, you can use different version numbers. For now, since it's a first time, or shall we use that previous learner management system, students online learning system? Yes, we'll use that online learning system. That makes more sense for you. Right, I'll remove that. Student LMS learning management system. Then we are going to develop a project for student learning management system. This is the version prepared by the author. Who is the person who developed this document? By the person. Probably this is the technical writer, or it might be the business analysis. Some companies business analysis develop in this. Some companies there is a separate technical writer, and sometimes it's developed by totally a different company, a third-party company. Somehow, whoever the person is involving in here. Then the organization belongs to this person, or the product owner of, or that means the software development company. We will get an like imaginary company called like Betasoft. Okay, this is an imaginary company. You can use your company name. Now date created. When is your date? It might be 2021, then 7th, 14th. Now in the date format, there might be some ambiguity, some different people are using different formats, the date formats. So what you have to follow is your company date format. There's a date format for your company. It might be not like this, it might be like some another date format, whatever. That's your company's policy, you should follow that. Now once the date is completed, now this date should be like not the initial date that you are starting to write, but the ending date, or the this report is delivering date, one day before deliver, because unless it might be a huge difference. So at that case you have to use this one. Now table of content, keep as it is. You don't want to do any modification for this. We'll start from here. Under the introduction, the purpose. Hope it's clear now. You can see screen well. Right. Now the purpose of the product. Identify the product. Now here a small description given for each and every topic, a small description given. What should be in your document? It's written in here. Identify the product whose software requirements are specified in this document, including the revision or release number. Describe the scope of the product that is covered by this SRS, particularly if this SRS describes only part of system or single subsystem. Now, there are situations, as I initially told, a whole new system or a system that is currently running, and now we are going to add a new feature. Now, currently I'm showing you for a SRS for a whole new system. Now what is in here? We have to write purpose. Identify the product whose software requirements are specified in this document, including the revision or release number. Now you have to include the release number. We will see the revision. Now here it's the version. Now this is the version. This is the version number. It might be not in here exactly same. The revision, because the document can have few revisions or different releases, whatever. Describe the scope of the product, and it's covered by this SRS, particularly if this SRS describes only part, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the same template, and I'm writing the requirement whose requirements, software requirements are specified in this document. This document is types out a student LMS, including the revision of the release number. Then in the next line, revision 1.0.0, because there might be different revisions. Describe the scope of the product, and it's covered by this SRS. This is the document that plays for the LMS system. This is the scope. That's all for this part. Here you can keep additional space with the revision. Once the document is changed, you can use revision 1.0.1 for a minor modification. For a major modification, revision 1.1.0. This is a minor modification. That means your small grammatical mistake, your spelling incorrect, such kind of thing you can use in here. Major modification is your document is adding something or removing something under this release or the revision. Now for the next version, your revision number is changed. Revision 2.0.0. This is your next release. This is the starting of your next document. Okay. Now for now we will keep it the initial revision. Now make sure like we have to minimize what is writing in here, because every second your client should pay some amount. Your development company or the person who is involving with this product is spending some amount for every second. So we have to minimize what you write, and it's crisp and clear. That's it. In single line you should able to complete this, and it should be understood by anyone. Now the next point, intended audience and reading suggestions. Describe the different types of reader that the document is intended for, such as developers, project managers, marketing staff, users, testers, and documentation writers. Describe what the rest of this SRS contains and how this is organized. Suggest a sequence for reading the document, beginning with the overview section and proceeding through the sections that are most pertained to each reader type. Now, sometimes you can't understand what is this description. Let me describe you step by step. We'll go. Description, describe the different types of readers intended for, such as developers, project managers, kind of things. Now, this document is mainly focusing on the project managers, and we can say project managers are involved with the requirements. Architect, software architect, for the technical clarifications. Likewise, we can define different roles, testers kind of things. Describe what the rest of SRS contain and how it's organized. In a new para, we can start the rest of the document is following in the is using following order. Right? Now, in this point, we don't know the following order. We'll keep a space, and once it comes to the last, we'll fill this space. Suggest a sequence for reading the document, beginning with an overview sections and proceedings through the sections that are most relevant for the each reader type. So then you can mention, go to topic, uh, 2.04. I don't know, right? Just imaginary. This is the main focus for this project manager. And for the technical clarifications, then we can state, go to this 3.5. We'll change it, but for now I just mention about these two things. So I just want to make it in red color because we want to change it. This sequence I don't know, so I remove this part just for now. And the product scope, the next point is product scope. Provide a short description of the software being specified and its purpose, including relevant benefits, objectives, goals. Relate the software to corporate goals or business strategies. If a separate version and scope document is available, refer to it rather than duplicating its content in here. Now, some companies using a separate version of the version and the vision and the scope. Now think we'll write everything in here. There's no separate document. So what we can do is we can include the description of the software being specified in purpose. LMS for the students who are working learning remotely. Now this product is mainly our purpose. Our purpose of this product is developing a software product for the students who are learning remotely, including relevant benefits, objectives, and goals. What are the objectives, benefits? Benefits are easy to interact with the now physically located university. Now it's remotely learning, so you can interact very easily with the university. Now what are the goals? Connect the students we want to connect the students in a seamless manner with the university staff. Likewise, we can mention what are the things in here, the benefits, objectives, goals, and other stuff. Then the software to cooperate goals and business strategies. Now there might be a business strategy that is using like future. There might be a future plan as allowed to geolocally locationally distributed students, like you are currently in Sri Lanka and you are allowing a student, who is learning in uh, Australia to learn the Sri Lankan syllabus. Now they are geolocationally in a different place, so both of you can't learn in the same time. So this is for learning, remote learners. Now that is your corporate goal and business strategy. So you should align everything in here. If a separate question, refer to that. So there's nothing in here, so we have included that also. And references, list of other references related. You can contracts, standard system software specifications, and other specifications. You should title in every reference. Reference means something that you extracted from. So just for now, I'll keep it in here. And the product functions. Summarize the major functions the product must perform or must let the user perform. Details which provide in the section 3. So only high level summary such as bullet list is needed in here. Organize the functions understandable. Now here a picture of major groups of related to requirements and how they are related, such as top level DFT or class diagram is most often effective. So you can insert a diagram in here, an overview of the diagram, overview functionalities in here under the product functions. Then operational environment. Describe the environment in which the software will operate, including the hardware platform. Now, what are the hardware platforms that we can use? It might be a laptop, it might be a desktop, or it might be some another digital device, PDA or mobile device. We don't know. You can include according to your situation. Operating system. What is the operating system that you are targeting? If it is a desktop application, you should mention this desktop application is running on top of Windows, this version 10 or Windows 8 or Windows 7, or it might be 7, 8, 10 or Linux, or we'll get an Ubuntu 16.4, 16.10, 18.4, 18.10. Likewise, you can mention, or you can mention Ubuntu from 16.4 onwards, every operating system it's working. This is the version, operating system and the version. Any other software components or applications with which it must peacefully coexist. There might be dependencies for your software. There might be some other libraries that you are using. Everything should insert in this place, your operating environment. Then the design and implementation constraints. For now, I'll help you in here. Windows, Windows 7, 8, and 10. Windows 10, right, 7.x, There might be some different versions, right? 7 point, 8 point, not sure. There might be 8 point. And system is and what are the related libraries for this application is NumPy. Now it might be different for your case, NumPy, and we'll get another one, SciPy. These kind of dependencies are there. These are just operational environment. Now let me expose you another point. Now this is 2.2. Now this is a technical story. This is a technical story. What you have to do, you have to update your topic 2.2 in here. 2.2, because it's a software architect, the technical clarifications person. This is the person who is involved with the technical jargon, technical work, and it should be for this person. If you are a person who is non-technical, you don't want to understand these things, it's fine. Clear? Right. Design and implementation constraints. What are the constraints involved in here? Describe any items or issues that will limit the options available to developers. These might include corporate or regulatory policies, hardware limitations, and interfaces to other applications, specified technologies, tools, databases to be used, parallel operations, language operations, blah blah blah. Lot of things are there. So you should include these kind of things in here. Then the user documentation. The user documentation, right? Under the user documentation, list the user documentation components such as user manuals, online help, tutorials, etc. Now this is the place that a person, the end user, a person or a normal user, whoever the person that is going to use this software, you have to mention that component in here. User manuals, you know what are the manuals, and you should mention where these manuals are there. And online help, if it is the help document is in online, you can mention the www this thing and .com/help. You can find the online help and the tutorials. Some softwares package with set of tutorials, how to use guide. Initially you have to set up like this, then this kind of thing happen in here, these kind of tutorials. Now if you are developing a software, if you are developing a proper manual, it's mandatory to find these things, because if not, the end user will get stuck, especially if it is a product that is specialized, like for a business domain or given company or a bespoke product. It's a problem if someone is new to the software and that person can't understand, then there should be a place to understand everything in here. There should be understanding a place that is located in here. So you should use this. That will be developed along with the software. Identify any non-user documentation delivery formats as or standards. If there are some standards, you can develop in here. Now the assumptions and dependencies. List any assumed factors as opposed to non-facts that could affect the requirements stated in the SRS. Now in here you have to mention What are the assumptions, the factors? Now, if you know 100%, this is the software that I want to develop, then that's fine. But if you have some assumption, this software is used by only a given manager or set of managers or top level managers or C-level managers, whoever, I don't know, a factor, a person or a set of person, or it might be a general public. You have to assume, if you don't know, if it is not mentioned in the requirements, then you have to write the some assumptions in here. If once your client read this document, if there are some assumptions that are well known by the customer or the client, then they will send a revision to you. Please remove this part and update according to this requirement. Then your version number in here, your version number would change as a revision to 1.1. I hope you are clear now up to now. And the dependencies, commercial components, you plan issues around the development, operating environment, constraints, and blah blah blah. These things are there. And the third point, the external interface requirements, user interfaces, hardware interfaces, and software interfaces, as well as communication interfaces should be there. Now these types of things, communication interfaces, software interfaces, hardware interfaces, if those are highly technical, you have to mention in here who are going to intend to read this one. It's not by the business analysis, but it should be read by the software architect. So you have to mention in the topic 2.3, likewise you have to mention. If you can have a special reference link, it would be really appreciated. If not, still it's okay if you don't know. Then the system features. Now this is the important part. This is like the features description. There might be 10 features in your system, and you should mention everything very clearly. Under 4.1, this is the system feature 1, system login, and you have to provide a small description like medium or high priority according to the risk. So this is happening in here. And the response sequences, likewise functional requirements you have to define. And then the system feature 2, 3, 4 and other features too. And the non-functional requirements, I have discussed about these things also. What are the non-functional requirements you have to mention in here. This is just a template, but you have to add as much as you can. If it is an imaginary software product, you have to add as much as the software requirements from your end. That's all here. There might be some ending, sometimes there might be a reference and appendix, but it's up to you. Now I believe now you are clear about these are the non-functional requirements, these are the functional requirements, and these are the hardware software requirements in this in the application, and the assumptions and other stuff will be in here. And to you, who are you are addressing, and scope and the references too. I think now once you complete, if something is not related in here, that means if I'll give an example, in this case you have an external document, so you can remove one point completely and update the table in here. Just click here, go to the references, and you can update the table. You can update the entire table. According to that, the system, the numbers and everything will be updated. Right. The last part is your header. There's a header. So software requirements specification for your students LMS. Now that is your header, and page numbers will update accordingly. And your footers, right, everything is updated properly, right. If you want to add a footer, you can add a footer too, it's up to you. And that's how you have to create your SRS. But I have just skimmed, I have just given very brief an overview of your SRS. Now it's time for you. What you can do is you can use the last week functional and unfunctional requirements, and you can add imaginary non-functional requirements too for an LMS system, because you are a student, you are using a system, you are using an LMS. So that means you have good experience what is an LMS and how to use an LMS and what are the key functionalities apart from my description given in the last week. You can add everything and you can complete this as a LMS, this small SRS. I don't want to have a very comprehensive one today, but in future, if you have a if you got an opportunity, so you can write very comprehensive SRS with the all functional, non-functional requirements and everything. Especially, I would encourage you to develop your SRS not for today, but in near future. If you have any experience, if you have developed any software in your university life, which is like at least up to 50% working, write SRS for that product. Write SRS for that product. That's the best software that you have developed. So you know ins and outs. You know what are the functions, what are the non-functions, everything. Sometimes you haven't used those things. It's okay, right? Because you are still a student. I'm agree with that. But if you can use that as the software product, that might be the best product that you have learned. Now it's time for you, and let me show you how to download this document. Right, I think you can see my screen. Once you go to here, you can click here and you can download it. Once you click here, once you click these three buttons, click here and download. Then it might be downloaded as a normal file wherever you download it. So as an in-class activity, it's time to you, because then I can see at least up to some extent that you are strong enough to understand, right, this story, and there's a ability to develop a small SRS by yourself as an individual student. This is not a group activity. This is just a simple self-study activity, in-class self-study activity. If anyone having any question, please let me know. Even while you are developing the application, you can chat with me, or you can let me know any issue that you are facing. I'll definitely help you. සිංහල මොන හරි අහන්න ඕන නම් ඒත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලන් අහන්න. මට ඕනේ ડોකියුමන්ට් එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ අතින් හොඳට හැදෙන්න. එනි ડોකියුමන්ට් එක ක්ලියර්ලි හදාගන්න මුලින් ඉඳලා. මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දෙන්නම් අද ටිකක් වැඩි වෙලාවක්. විනාඩි 20ක් වගේ දෙන්න. අපි 11:45 වෙනකම් මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට වෙලාව දෙන්නම්. 11:45 වෙනකම් මේ අරගෙන ડોකියුමන්ට් එක හදලා ඉවරලා මට ෂෙයා කරන්න. මට එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කමෙන්ට්ස් දෙන්න පුළුවන් මේක මොන හරි මොඩිෆයි කරන්න ඕන නම් හරි ඇඩ් කරන්න ඕන නම් හරි වැරදි නම් හරි ඔයාලට අද කරගන්න බැරි වුණත් පස්සේ දවසක හරි කමක් නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ මගෙත් එක්ක ෂෙයා කරලා තියන්න මගේ මේ ලෙටර්ස් එක තියෙනවානේ. මගෙත් එක්ක ෂෙයා කරලා තියන්න. එතකොට මේ මම ඊළඟ දවසේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මොන හරි හදන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවා නම් සහ මොන හරි අඩුපාඩුවක් තියෙනවා නම් මම ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට හදලා දෙන්නම්. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් ඉස්සරහට ගිහිල්ලා මේ වැඩේ හොඳට කළා හොඳ අවුට්පුට් එකක් දෙන්න. දැන් මම ඕවර්විව් එක විතරයි දුන්නේ. හරිම සරලව හරි සරල ඕවර්විව් එකක් ඇත්තටම දුන්නේ. කොහොමද කරන්න කියලා බේසික් අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩින් එක විතරයි. ඉතින් ඒක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අත ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වෙන්න එපා. සහ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක වෙනස් වෙයි. අදට ඔයගොල්ලන් අර මගේ ස්කූල් මැනේජ්මන්ට් සිස්ටම් එකට හරියන විදිහට පොඩි LMS එකක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝම පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙනවානේ. මේ ඒක යූස් කරන්න කළා මට SRS එක හදලා ඊමේල් කරන්න නැත්නම් chat එකේ දාන්න නැත්නම් ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරලා පෙන්නුවොත් මට කමක් නැහැ. මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ අතරදී අහන්න. ડોකියුමන්ට් එක ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරගන්න බැරි කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවා නම් මට චුට්ටක් කියන්න මම ඔයගලන්ට එවන්නම්. වෙන මොනවා හරි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න මම ඔයගලන්ට කියලා දෙන්නම්. කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. මොකක් හරි නොතේරුණු දෙයක් තියෙනවා නම් කියන්න මම ඒකට කියලා දෙන්නම්. දැන් හදන්න පටන් ගන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ SRS එක. ඔක පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන් ක්ලාස් එකේදී කළාම හොඳයි. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට ඔකේ අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩින් එකක් එනවා නැත්තම් ලොකු අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩින් එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ පළවෙනි සැරේ හින්දා.
Sir, can you share the template via email? Actually, don't know it is my problem, but it says access required. I can't open or download or any, can't do anything.
I have shared with you. You are yes, Vishwi, right?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I have shared with you. Please check your email. I have shared with you.
Sure, sir. Okay.
Others, I hope others can. Once you complete, please share with me. Then I can go through your document and update you for your modifications. It's good for you actually. I don't want a complete document, fully functional complete document today itself, but just some sort of abstract document. It's more than enough. Like I know 15 minutes you can't develop everything, but just an abstract is more than enough. Just to understand whether you have grabbed the points or not. Just a one functional requirement and one non-functional requirement with the objectives and swaps is more than enough. I just want to make sure that you have understood it. Well, ඔයාලට තේරුණා කියලා බලා ගන්න විතරයි මට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට වෙලා මදි වුණොත් තවම විනාඩි 5ක් විතර දෙන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඒක කරන්න. හොඳට කරගන්න ඒක වටිනවා SRS එක හොඳට හදන්න ඉගෙන ගන්න. මොකද IS වලට ගියත් SC වලට ගියත් කොයි ෆීල්ඩ් එකේ හිටියත් software පැත්තේ ඉන්නකොට අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේ SRS එක වැදගත් වෙයි කොහේදී හරි. SRS එකම නම නැති වුණත් ඔය functional non functional requirements ටික දාලා කරගන්න වැඩේ තේරුම් ගන්න එක වැදගත් වෙයි. Right? I'm here. You can ask any question. Now you can start. I think everyone has downloaded and everyone is running now. And if you have any question, I'm here. You can ask any question in any time. Even chat with me, mail with me, or share the screen with me, or you can directly speak with me. Any communication mechanism that you like. It's okay.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මොන හරි සිස්ටම් එකක් තියෙනවා නම් දැනට හදපු ඒ සිස්ටම් එක පාවිච්චි කරාට කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඔය SRS එක හදද්දි ඔයගොල්ලන් අපි හිතමු LMS එක නැතුව වෙන මොකක් හරි හදපු එක ER ඔක්කොම DFD ඔක්කොම දාලා හදපු එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ ડોකියුමන්ට් ඒ ටික පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ ඔක්කොම වෙන අලුතෙන් මේ මගේ මේක ඕන කරන්නේ නැහැ මම අර සාම්පල් එකක් දුන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරලා නැත්තම් කියලා හදිස්සිය කරලා තියෙනවා නම් මේ ඒකම දාන්න ඒක කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. හොඳද? ඒ කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැහැ මේ මට ඕනේ අර ડોකියුමන්ට් එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක සහ ડોකියුමන්ට් එක තනියම කරගන්න පුළුවන් කියන දේ විතරයි මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. හරි? මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. ඕන වෙලාවක කෝල් කරන්න, මේල් එකක් දාන්න, නැත්නම් chat කරන්න ඕන විදිහකින් මට කියන්න. Do you need more time, or shall we check the status of your document? උංගලගේ document එකට තව විනාඩි කිහිපයක් අවශ්‍යයිද? නැත්නම් අපි දැනට තියෙන තත්ත්වය බලමුද කොහොමද? Do you need another like 5 to 10 minutes? තව මිනිත්තු 5-10ක් අවශ්‍යයිද? Have you developed or complete at least 25 percentage? Have you completed your document at least 20? Right, okay, we will start our next component or the next lesson, software crisis. Now, this is very comprehensive subject area, but I don't want to go very deep in here because majority of the concepts are self-explanatory. You can explain yourself, but I give good understanding of the in the surface level, so you can deep dive the situation. So the software crisis, first of all, you should know what is a crisis. A time of intense difficulty or danger. Now it's a time of having a problematic time period, or a period that you are facing problems. Now once it comes to software crisis, is a term used in computer science for the difficulty of writing useful and efficient computer programs in the required time. Now this is the term in software crisis. Software crisis was due to using same workforce, same methods, and same tools. Even though rapidly increasing software demand, complexity of software and software challenges. Now the business environment is changing every day, time to time it's changing. So the technology is trying to adapt to these business requirements rapidly. It's like really hard job. It's like really hard work to adapt these two different areas into, or two different areas synchronize or simultaneously run. It's really hard. So there's a problem in every time. Business required something, so technology is developing that for like after some time. At that time, the period in between that is like a SaaS time. It's like really hard time for the business. The requirements are there. With the increase in the complexity of software, many software problems arise because existing models were insufficient. Even currently, people are running, or people are hunger with new things like self-driving cars. People are really enthusiastic to have these kind of things. Even business is willing to invest these things. Not a lot because it's a research. Currently now I have seen even few videos, it's working well. But somehow the business requirements and the technical requirements should be matched one to another to have a most reliable, flexible, and robust solution. If you, or if this requirements is insufficient, or if these two areas are merged to do not merge together properly, that means there might be a problematic to the software industry, which is known as this software crisis. So the software crisis is mainly because of this. The demand and the complexity and the challenges are increasing. Meanwhile, the same tools, same technologies, and same workforce is there. Even a new technology arrives, at that time the workforce is really new. I will give a simple example. Currently we are speaking about artificial intelligence, neural networks kind of things. Even like for us, neural networks are new things. Even if we have industrial experience, if we are from technical background, it's a new thing. So we have to learn and come. So that means the same workforce is struggling. to achieve these targets. And same methods, probably it might be like small deviations, but it's like same concepts are evolved a little bit, very little bit. Same tools, like people are using same tools in many cases, regardless of the situation. People are using the same tools. That's the main reasons or the 4 reasons behind this software crisis. Now there are a lot of situations happening historically because of these failures of the software systems or the information systems or the computer systems or the softwares, whatever the name that you are using. Nevertheless, the end problem or the core problem or the core reason behind is the technological issue. I have mentioned 2 situations in here. A power failure situation. This power failure situation lost like approximately like 6 billion effort. The main reason behind is failure of a software bug in the power monitoring and management system. So that means this much of amount was lost because of a software bug. And there's another problem. The problem was occurred due to a small difference. The 2-digit format, like memory is not sufficient, and the computer application is the major culprit for this. So that means if a problem in a software, that means if a problem in a software means a problem in business. That's the software crisis. This is the core situational background behind this software crisis. And here another situation, like this hardware and software time and the cost for the development. Now it's like growing very fast, even rapidly than this sometimes. But this is the initial points of this software crisis, the initial durations. Initially, the hardware cost is really high. For a 8 GB processing, 8 GB RAM, it might be like $2,000 or something. I can't remember the exact amount. It's very costly. While at time passing, the hardware cost arrives little bit down. At the same time, the software cost move upwards. So at the end of the day, from the client's perspective, though it's a hardware or software, the final cost, the final expenses for the product is high. That's the story behind this graph. And the causes of this software crisis. So what are the main reasons? What are the main situations behind this software crisis? The software of owning and maintaining software was as expensive as developing a software. So a given product, a given software product, owning and maintaining a software was as expensive as developing a software. So it's like very hard thing. Even for now, developing a software and maintaining a software is very costly work. It's not something easy, because there might be issues in the system, though it's tested by a lot of people and lot of technological things. There might be issues. There might be situations we want to change the structure, we want to change the user interface, we want to give a fresh look for the end users. So lot of things we have to consider. It's not something easy. It's really hard to maintain a software. At that time, project was running overtime. Software was very inefficient. Speaking about like little bit later. The quality of the software was very low. Software often did not meet the requirements. The average software project overshoots its schedule by half. At the time, software was never delivered. System that works, but it's difficult to use. So a lot of situations was happening. Currently, some of things are solved, but still some issues are persist because softwares often did not meet the requirements. Lot of requirement changes are there. It might be not the core reason of the technological or the development. It might be a problem with the business too. The business is getting the requirements from end users or the environment. So the environment changes means the business changes. According to the business changes, the development company should adjust the schedule and the plan with the cost, and the product should deliver to the end users or the customers according to the requirement. Within a very shorter life cycle, currently we have different project management methodologies like Kanban boards are there, like Scrum is there. To avoid this longer time schedules and maintain the shorter delivery timelines, but still there are crashes, especially in between the clients and the software development companies, because of the agreements are not solid, and lot of promises like to maintain the management to the client's management, they are struggling and pushing the development company to deliver the product soon as possible. Not only these causes, there might be a lot of causes for this software crisis, and it's not stopped. Even for next decade, there might be some software crisis. Even for next century, there might be. So this is not something we can tell it's 100% completed. There's no any software crisis furthermore. Historically, it's drastic. Even now, there are situations. So what are the solutions for this software crisis? There's no single solution to the crisis. One possible solution of software crisis is software engineering, because software engineering is a systematic, disciplined, and quantifiable approach. The main problems arriving everywhere, not in software industry, in any industry, because of lack of processes. There's no proper semantic discipline. They do just here and there, do just as per the management request, as per the director's request, as per the CEO's request. No next plan. There's no proper plan. What happens? The cause effect analysis. There's no cause effect analysis. Just assume and do the work. No proper data gathering, no requirement analysis. Just do the work. So software engineering is like a kind of a process to develop a software product in a systematic way. At that time, since we have some sort of proper approach, we can minimize this software crisis. Like we can define the initial requirement gathering is conducting like this, and analyzing is like this, then developing like this, then testing like this. What are the things we are going to test, and how we are deliver the product, and when we are deliver the product, when we are completing the software testing, when we are completing the requirement gathering, what are the questions that we are going to ask. Likewise, we can define. So software engineering aspects are much solid or much richer experience for this software development business companies. And preventing this software crisis, there are some guidelines. These are not the perfect guidelines. There might be new guidelines available time to time, but for now, reduction in software over budget. There are situations like over budgeting because the requirement is unclear, so they allocating huge amount of money for developing a prototype even, and the quality of the software must be high. The quality is something meets or exceeds the end user or the customers, but sometimes I have mentioned like some customers want satisfy even the product is developed by gold, using gold, they want to develop in platinum. If you develop in platinum, they want in diamond. There are people like that. I'm not speaking about that extreme. I'm speaking about the just general solution. At that case, the software quality must be high to up to some extent. That means the software is working at least like for 95-98% of people without any issue. There might be issues for like 2% people, it's okay. There are situations we can't ignore, like we can't say it's 100%, its working system is 100% up and running, there's no issues at that time. There are situations we have to face, systems are down, it's not working, but it's like up and running, working. Like I have discussed about these things also. The availability is high, the high availability systems are there. That means we can, at least our customers can happy up to some extent, nearly like 95 to 98%. Less time needed for software product. Now, to address this issue, novel methodologies are growing, like Scrum, Kanban. So these software project management methodologies are there for deliver the product in very short time. Then in the small time, the small period, the business people can ship the product and earn something, because business people are mainly focusing on profit, not the product. They want the profit. To make the profit, they want the product earliest as possible. That's the statement of this. Less time needed for software product. Experienced working team member on software project. This is very important. If a software team member, if we have only very new interns, if we are developing a software with 10 interns, That means the software might face for a lot of problems in near future, because they don't have much experience. They just have some university experience. They just think about the functionality, not the robustness, not the maintainability, not the security. They just think about the functionality. Functionality should be working. That's it. That's their view. But once it comes to like a person who is having industrial experience around 2 decades, they would think far more beyond this functional requirement. They think about the maintainability, they think about the availability, they think about the robustness, they think about the reliability, they think about the security. So if a person is develop a software urgently by using getting an help of an intern, and after 5 years, if the software product is totally failed, that impact for the entire business, because after 5 years sometimes the business is grown well, sometimes you might spend more money to fix this bug. That's why we want to hire experienced working team members. But in the other side, these experienced people are very costly. You have to pay 200,000, 300,000, 350, 400,000, even 600,000 per month. That's a high problem. So it's really hard to allocate sometimes. The development company to maintain their product team, because after 10 years, after 20 years, they want very high amount of salary. That's the other part. And the software must be delivered on time. This is really hard. Again, because of both sides. That means the business is changing their requirements. They don't pay on time. That kind of situations are there. And the software development company is getting some problems, like technical changes, people are leaving the company all of a sudden, and some hardware products getting some issues. Such kind of things are there. So to avoid or prevent or minimize this software crisis, these kind of things have to perform. But while we are performing, we have to think wisely. We have to think wise. We have to get a wise decision in each and every step. For the implementation of this solution to the problem of software crisis, some prerequisites are there. Knowledge of basic statistical and experimental design prototype. That means if you are planning your product, if you are planning a product with a prototype and you have like good data analytical skills, your decision is based on data. Your business is data driven decision. This company, your decision is based on data. So at that time, it's mandatory to have like a good prototyping and data decision. Then the problems might be minimized. Basic understanding of commonly used software lifecycle methods, at least 2 level covered, introduction is senior or graduate level software engineering course. This is like mandatory. If you don't have good knowledge it's like a problem. Experience working as a team member on a software development project. So if you haven't worked as a team, if you are running as an individual person, that's a problem, because you, at the end of the day, a university student is merged to a team of software development. So individually you should contribute your team. I'm not speaking about as a team we don't do anything. There are situations as a team we don't do anything. I'm speaking about as a team I'm giving my contribution for the success, the team success. As a team, individual should give their contribution for the success. If not, there's a problem. For maximum utility in analytical studies and statistical analysis, metrics should have data values belong to appropriate measurement scales. We are discussing about this metrics, software metrics in near future. At that time, you might learn more deep understanding about these matrices well. But like basic analytical studies and statistical analysis is there, like common knowledge, common sense might apply for everywhere. Even without very deeper considerations, the basic things are there, because everything is stand on top of the basics. The basics should be satisfied before going anything, before moving towards anything. That's why the maximum utility of analytical studies and statistical metrics should be have data values belong to appropriate measurement scales. If the data is not there, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. If the data is not there, you can't do anything. You just assume and do. That's a risk. Right. Now it's a time for questions. If you have any questions, like we have discussed 3 components today. RAD prototyping under the Agile software project management. Under the project management, we have discussed about Agile. Under the Agile, we have discussed about RAD. Under the RAD, we have discussed about prototyping. And next we have discussed about the SRS, how to create an SRS and the basics of the SRS. And we have tried a template. We have used a template to develop our SRS. The last component we have discussed is the software crisis and how this crisis is happened, why this crisis happened, how to prevent this software crisis. So I think today we have discussed a little bit longer session, like three components we have merged together, and I have delivered it. If you have any questions related to anything, even not even today, last week session, or anything related to the project management we have discussed up to now, you can ask now. I'll give around 2 to 3 minutes. Around 2 to 3 minutes, we can discuss any question. Right. If you don't have any question, thank you for the today's session. You have, I think you have learned a lot, and we will meet on next week, and we'll continue the lessons. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.